Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Exciting video. Steve, thanks for being here. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Got that out of the way.
Yeah.
So we just had a conversation on the Gamers Nexus channel, which you could go watch now if you want, or after this video. Probably doesn't matter what order they watch them in, does it? But it's sort of like a part one, part two, but you could do, it's like Star Wars or whatever, however you want to do it. And we're talking about Nvidia, of course.
Yes.
So we had some interesting topics and discussions there. And now we're transitioning into, is Nvidia damaging sort of PC gaming and I suppose the industry?
I'm here to drag you down with me.
I'm here for the ride. I'm here for it.
Our Computex coverage is brought to you by MSI's excellent QD-OLED gaming monitors. Offering perfect blacks, infinite contrast, and lightning-fast response times, MSI QD-OLED monitors are the best way to level up your gaming experience. And there are options for everyone, whether you're after an incredible 4K panel or a blistering 500Hz refresh rate, all with the latest features like True HDR, a custom graphene film to cool the display, and HDMI 2.1 with full console support. Check the links below to learn more about MSI's QD-OLEDs.
Also supporting our Computex trip this year is Thermal Grizzly and their Duranaut high-performance thermal paste offering extreme long-term stability combined with outstanding thermal conductivity. It's not electrically conductive and won't harden over time. So for more information, please check the links in the video description. So I guess I'll start, I'll make you do a lot of the work for this video. So if I say to you, is Nvidia damaging PC gaming, would you agree? Okay, good. All right, well, that's the video. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with a couple other people about this, and the short version is that I think the way Nvidia is behaving right now is hurting, if you want to look at it from the businessy side, like it's hurting consumer interest and consumer trust and all the business buzzwords. Yes, they'll keep buying Nvidia, I know, and they'll keep buying AI GPUs and all this stuff. But for PC building, you walk around this show, Computex, and talk to case manufacturers and cooler manufacturers, and they'll sync up their launches to Nvidia GPU launches because they don't sell things in between at the same velocity. And so if Nvidia launches a GPU, and the interest falls off a cliff because people just feel like they either can't get a card or they get screwed if they get a card, I think it actively damages the hobby. And
definitely.
If they're just going to ship pre-builts with 50, 60 upsells like you're talking about in our video, then sure, yeah, DIY PC building kind of runs into some problems.
Well, that's because, they have the majority of the market. As you say, it fuels all the excitement, consumerism essentially, the excitement in it, which, we do want to say. We always want to be upgrading our computers and enjoying PC gaming and doing that sort of stuff. And, you tend to do other things with your graphics cards. That's definitely an aspect of it. It does open the door ever so slightly to Radeon to pick up the slack there. Yet to see how that plays out fully. Things have been definitely going better for them, but they're just obviously not the powerhouse that Nvidia is.
I think if I were going to play devil's advocate on it, though, the other side of that might be, okay, so you say Nvidia is damaging PC gaming, but Nvidia is PC gaming. Like they've created this; it's theirs to do what they want with, right? I mean, so how do you view that? Because if Nvidia is the one that's selling 90% of the GPUs, can't they just do what they want? How does it hurt it if it's all them anyway?
True. I mean, realistically...
That's the video. Thanks for watching.
Yes, well, Nvidia doesn't care is the big problem, right? We want them to care about PC gaming. Like PC gamers have helped support the company and grow them, but it's a service they've offered and whatever. So view that however you would like. And really, you could put blame on AMD, which people have done in the past for not competing as well as they should have to this point. Of course, there's probably some anti-corporate things that have gone on behind the scenes that probably weren't the fairest tactics deployed there. So I don't know how much of a hard time we should give AMD, but there are some clear things that we've seen AMD that they could have done over the years that for some reason they didn't.
I definitely don't think people should just like kickstart Intel Arc or buy Radeon only because they don't like Nvidia or something. I mean, if you want to do it that way, great, but it's just it is not the consumer's responsibility to build the other two competitors.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got to buy what the best value product is for you.
Yeah.
And in a lot of instances in the past, that legitimately has been Nvidia.
Yeah.
So, that's just AMD hasn't done a great job on the feature side, for example, and that's why we've talked about how much cheaper the Radeon GPUs have had to be.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had, FSR hasn't been nearly as good as DLSS. Of course, that's starting to change. The ray tracing performance, that's starting to change.
They were late to it.
Late to it,
and it was bad.
It was really bad. So they had to sell their GPUs cheaper than ultimately they were. So there's all that as well. Moving away from that sort of side of the damaging the PC gaming, the other side where I'm probably more frustrated with is the products themselves now. So we're getting to the point, I know this always harks back to the VRAM thing, right? It always comes back there, especially with me. It's people just, but
I would love to see, I would love to see the notebook of a therapist who talks to you. So it would just be VRAM. It would be 100 pages of VRAM.
No matter what unrelated topic we talk about, I get back to VRAM within 3 words. Which I honestly, I'm sick of the VRAM thing now.
It's valid though, the complaint.
It becomes increasingly valid as well. Because I remember when we first started talking about this, because not that I'm taking full credit or trying to make it my thing, but we were amongst the first few, especially YouTube channels that sort of started to sound the alarm on it.
You made the most noise the earliest, I think. I think it's valid to say that discussion was largely pushed by Hardware Unboxed early on, in a good way.
I remember even when the RTX 3070 came out, and I gave that a positive review. I said it was a great value product because by all metrics and measurements that we had at the time, it was a good product. We had very few examples that we could point to where 8 gigabytes wasn't enough. Of course, the upcoming competing card, we knew had a 16 gigabyte VRAM buffer. So that doesn't necessarily make that a valid thing. It can be if you had a 32 gigabyte buffer now on that product, you'd be like, well, it's got enough VRAM.
Right.
It's probably not something you're going to use within the realistic lifespan of that product. But because we did see, and even where you were looking at dedicated used VRAM, a lot of games 7.5 gig. So you could see it creeping up over the years from 4, 5, 6, 7. You could see where it was trending, right? Which is why I always find it funny when people are like, why are we using more than 8 now? 8 should be enough. And if you look through the games over the last 6 years, you can see that trend occurring. Because not that long ago, you could game on a 4 gigabyte card. And now try do that.
Well, the RX 480 and 580, well, even better, 480 and 470, I remember, or actually 480, 4 and 8 gigabyte also. In those situations, they were close enough a lot of times where, especially in the budget market, $200 versus $200, that $50 mattered a lot.
For the majority of that product's lifespan, the 4 gigabyte card was better value.
Oh, it was definitely better value, yeah. And but that's not really true the same way anymore, especially not 4 and 8, but 8 and 16 is kind of, it's not like it used to be where now you can actually make use of it, or if you can't, sometime within your realistic usage cycle of the card, you probably want the extra memory. And but I think that does, looping it back to Nvidia actively damaging PC gaming. The VRAM is a good example of that, where if developers are feeling in any way constrained, that's also not great, which is not an angle I normally look at. So
no, and it's a good thing to bring up because we've heard from developers that they've had to, and it's sort of a good thing and a bad thing for them because they say Nvidia throws a ton of resources and makes a lot of things happen for them, but they have to then use ray tracing, multi-frame generation and stuff, which again, Nvidia would be helping them deploy all those features into the game, but it's still a lot of extra time and effort, and they've got to optimize for it, and then that takes away from optimizing for the lower end hardware, and then these features then use more VRAM.
Yeah.
So it's this problem where they're making the games better with ray tracing and multi-frame generation, because again that uses more VRAM, and they don't but then the mainstream cards don't have enough VRAM to begin with, really, or they have just enough. But then you want to enable basic ray tracing or multi-frame generation, and that becomes a marketing problem as well, because of course these cards, what are they advertised? What are they selling 50 series on? It's multi-frame generation and superior ray tracing performance.
Well, I saw I'll get into this more in a future video of mine, but I saw, one of the booths at Computex, there's a vendor who has, I won't name the game yet because I don't want to start narrowing in on who it is, but there's a vendor with a game on display, and It has RT, and the story I got was that Nvidia came through and inspected the settings that they had chosen for the game. Yeah. And the reason we knew about it is because when you move the mouse, I mean, it's like a blurry mess, like running at 30 FPS, and it's got a 5090 in the system.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because, did you also see this?
Tim knows the game you're talking about.
And the reason for that, they originally set lower settings, but the story goes that Nvidia came through, did the GeForce partner inspection, and said, you need this on max settings. And the vendor's like, if you say so, you know, like, and now it's 30 FPS with a 5090 in it. But I think it kind of shows I mean, even to the GeForce branding, I've heard stories about how at trade shows, NVIDIA will inspect the booths and make sure there's the proper display of like GeForce RTX, like including the font size and
which isn't shocking because they're trying to control you.
Right. Yeah.
So doing it to a partner who's just, their job is to sell the products, not really a big deal. But your job is to provide independent, objective analysis of their product. Like, well, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just do what we say.
Yeah.
So that
seems so overbearing, though. It's like if NVIDIA would just focus on the things that consumers wanted. I know it's like a crazy thing to think about, but there'd probably be more positive coverage. But it goes back to like, do they even care?
Well, the answer is they don't care, right? I think maybe it's this power struggle where the people in charge of GeForce still care, and they want to sell GeForce GPUs. They're passionate about the GeForce brand, but NVIDIA as this corporate entity are like, well, we don't want to sell that silicon for $1,000 or $2,000. We want to sell it for $10,000. So there's clearly some allocation issues going on there, and we've heard about those struggles internally at NVIDIA from some of the employees. So I think the reason why we're seeing the GeForce branch of NVIDIA behave the way they are is because they are sort of desperately trying to justify GeForce's existence. And that's kind of hard when you've got, because I was explaining to someone else who didn't quite understand all this sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, you have a source, which is TSMC silicon. And you only get so much of that, right? And if I say to you, you have like, 10 of these things, and you can sell it to this guy for $1 each, or you can sell it to this guy for $10 each. What are you doing?
Right. Especially if they both want an equal amount, or
the $10 guy wants more. He's like, I want it all, and this guy's like, oh, I'll have one. Right. So that's what you're up against. So in a way, you can't blame NVIDIA for that, and I don't really. It's frustrating as it is for gamers, and myself included, who are passionate about gaming. You've just got to accept the reality of the situation.
That's why in our videos, like, I mean, that's fine. That's fine if you only want to sell AI GPUs.
It's the manipulation that's the problem.
Fucking go for it. Yeah. But like, just don't screw people over in the process of so doing. Like, just it's so frustrating to me because NVIDIA doesn't need to behave any certain way in the gaming side of things because they already own all of it.
Yeah, I think it might be a situation where they know they don't really have anything to offer with the GeForce 50 series, and if anything, the situation has gotten worse. So the value is nowhere near what it was. Like each generation, the value has gotten worse for what you're getting from like the 30 series, but they have to keep selling GPUs. They have to, again, justify the existence of GeForce, and they want to save the brand's reputation. Like they're the mind share of GeForce has been so powerful over the years, they don't want that to erode. So they're doing anything and everything they can.
It's like they're doing the opposite, though, I feel like.
Well,
I feel like it'd be less erosion if they would just shut up and just like let reviewers say the value is bad and the card's not as impressive as it should be, but at least they're not saying NVIDIA's manipulating the numbers or whatever.
I absolutely agree. I just don't think NVIDIA's the kind of company that sits back and lets things play out. Like they have to have their hands on whatever's going on, and if you look throughout the history of the company, it's strong arm tactics.
Yeah.
You do as I say, or you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like that's their strategy. That's in their DNA. That's what they do. So you either toe the line, do what NVIDIA says, or you get your change editorial direction email.
How's that going, by the way? Did you guys finally change?
Not so much, no.
Really?
I think they changed their direction more than we did, actually, with how that one played out. Not that I want to poke the bear. I'd happily just have the relationship where they provide the sample ahead of time and we provide our service.
I have a suggestion for you. You can you can put the title of this video in quotes as long as I said it, and then you're just quoting me.
Yeah, this is all Steve's fault.
Yes.
I'm actually happy to work with Nvidia.
Yeah.
We're the preview channel. I shouldn't say that. I was in my review of the RTX 5060 because I wasn't as happy with the standard of the review because there was no power overclocking. All the other stuff we often do. There wasn't even a look at thermals of the cards. It was just more
just get something done.
Yeah, here are the benchmark graphs, which people appreciated, but I wasn't super happy with it. And I was like, I don't really want to call this a full-blown review. I'd rather get back to Australia, redo all of that testing, maybe include some partner cards and make that like our final
real review.
But I was like, well, I can't call it a preview.
No, you cannot.
So, mini review.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with some sort of terminology for that made me happy with what we were putting out there.
Previews, those actually shocked me because like that came out of nowhere, and it was right before the keynote. And I mean,
We should have expected it though. They did it with the 5070.
Yeah.
But I guess it was just you weren't focused on it, and it was each time they've made it worse.
Yes, because the 5070 you could still test.
There was a review program. We got the driver and we were still testing it, and we were sort of blindsided by these early things. We thought, oh, well, whatever. They're only there for 24 or 48 hours, and then we'll show how silly they are.
Right.
But this time, didn't get the opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think your content would be a lot easier if you would just publish, I played games on the RTX 5060 for 8 hours, and wow.
Well, it'd be more profitable as well.
That's true.
I could get a big fat check from the green team.
Think about Tim. You could be giving Tim so much money.
He's sitting over there like a small child in need. Please, sir, can I have some more money?
All you need to do is the previews.
What do you think, Tim?
Nvidia's going to have a talk with him later. Yeah. That's our way in. He wants a Lamborghini.
He didn't say no straight away.
That's right.
To switch gears back to because I actually thought of something I wanted to ask you. We were talking about Nvidia damaging gaming. And this is one I get a lot of pushback on from certain audiences or certain corners of the internet when I say it. And it's not an easy thing to answer. And again, I'm coming back to VRAM, Steve.
Okay.
So do
Let me
you
get the notebook back out.
Yeah. 10th mention of VRAM.
Tim Lamborghini, VRAM.
Well, we got off the subject for too long, so I'm bringing us back to the core of the channel.
Yeah.
So do you think by, I guess, holding gamers at this 8GB mainstream VRAM thing for so long, it's absurdly long, right?
Yes, it's insane.
If we had gone back to Pascal and I said in 2025, what would the mainstream cards have for, you probably would have said more than 16, right? Minimum 16.
I mean, it would be, so when did we start really seeing 8GB cards show up? The 480 jumps to mind. I know it was before that too.
That's 2017 or something, isn't it? Do you remember
was it
the
really
dates?
that recent? I thought the 480
Maybe
was
it might have been older than that.
That's got to be 2015 or 16.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, and the 1080 Ti, to your point, was something like 16, I think, or 17 early. But either way, yeah. So if we go back to...
I think it's been there like 10 years, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, so what would a 10-year gap, if you bought in like, say, 2004 or 5, top of my head, I don't remember, but I do think it was like 512 megabytes or something, or 256.
Yeah, it was jumping up massively every generation.
And imagine, and I know it's not like a perfect comparison, but imagine 2005, your high-end card is something like 512, pulling numbers out of best of my memory, and then 2015, you're still at like 512, right? Like, it seems insane, right? When you frame it like that, it's crazy. So, even though it's not like it hasn't scaled perfectly, it's still scaled a whole hell of a lot, because systems back then, the same area, you're maybe 4 gigabytes of RAM, you're fairly high-end. So, for system memory. And so I just, I don't know. I would expect by now we would at least be seeing 16 like all the time.
I thought that would be the mainstream.
Like minimum.
Yeah, minimum. That would be my expectation for sure. And then of course, if that was the case, games would be more detailed, right?
Yeah.
You can have greater level of detail, much higher quality textures, and I maintain that high quality textures have more overall impact on the presentation of the game compared to some fancy reflections.
For sure.
People, again, get upset when I say that, but there's plenty of evidence to suggest that's the case.
Yeah.
And as I said, we've seen over the years, pretty much every year, the VRAM requirements on average hop up a bit, like a gig or so. That's just like you get the new consoles
but you don't get the new generation game straight away, and they sort of filter out throughout the lifespan of that product. And so anyway, I get frustrated when Nvidia do the whole, we're for gamers, we're making gaming better. You know, we're offering ray tracing, upscaling, frame generation. And while I think, you know, sure, ray tracing will be the future of gaming. It will eventually improve.
They're going to clip that. They're going to put that in quotes on their product page.
I'm not necessarily claiming that isn't the case.
Oh, they'll put that there too. That's even better.
All right, well, I don't know how to continue here.
I think like something I was just thinking of, if part of the comment is Nvidia's hurting PC gaming, then some of that can come from consoles, where it's like, if you're going to erode the viability of PC gaming or PC GPUs by doing some of the decisions they're doing, console gaming starts to look more
attractive.
viable. Yeah.
I mean, I'm the last person that would consider that, and now it's sort of like almost in a position where, yeah, I could recommend you do that instead, because it's just better value.
Yeah, if you want to spend $600 or whatever and be kind of done with it, as much as it sucks. Like,
well, you're spending $300 on the most entry-level GeForce GPU now. At best, they're probably spending $330 US. And in a lot of games, you'll be playing medium to low quality settings at 1080p. You might do some tuning there to improve the visuals a bit, but you're gonna have to spend time and energy doing that. And let's be honest, most gamers just want to hit the higher ultra settings and go for it. So if you're getting a console-like or worse than console experience for pretty good money, I mean, you got to buy the rest of the PC, right? So,
and there's all kinds of nuance. Yeah, you can use it for work or homework or whatever, but even still, it's just there are other options than PC gaming, and Nvidia makes them look more interesting.
I think at the end of the day, if you can point to a part like the 5060 Ti and you can show real situations that are at very playable frame rates, where one product works quite well, or very well in a lot of instances, and the other one is completely broken, it answers your question, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, the broken one is better. It's Nvidia,
better
right?
margins.
Yeah, better margin.
So, okay, so I think we're pretty well on the same page with it. I think we agree that if they should be 16 gigabytes of VRAM, probably the minimum. Yeah. And if that was the case, games would probably look better.
For sure. And I think it's true now more than ever. When you first start really doing your earliest VRAM pieces, I would say, like, at that time, there was a little more flex where you're starting to see the problem happen, but you were also saying, like, it's more and more in the future over the next 3 years.
It was cautioning.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, this is like now.
Yeah, we were sort of sounding the alarm, saying, okay, well, the 3070 for the lifespan of this product is probably going to be okay. Some people will argue that it wasn't okay. We'll go with it was mostly okay. And then for the following generation, it was like not going to age well.
Right.
And I think we saw that with the 4060 Ti 8GB, and that was $400
Well,
US
they had
product.
regression against like the 30 series for some of those cards too.
And
that was memory bandwidth too.
And that card's still, like, that's not dead and forgotten. Like, people who bought that still want to be using it, right? They probably want to be, because you're not upgrading every generation for a $400 US GPU.
Well, that's the problem. They should be.
Well, they could be, but even then, you more had to be really incentivized by a 50% performance uplift. Like, you're like, all right, take my money. Like, that's awesome.
No. They should buy every generation.
Oh, sorry, I see what you're saying. Uh-oh, they've got to him.
I'm just trying to get back on the list, Steve.
The editorial direction is, you can't do that though, honestly. You cannot do that, because when we got the change your editorial direction thing, again, I think it was like the 3070, we said, like, it's the best value GPU right now, although we're cautioning about the VRAM. And people were not happy. Like, they were like, ever since Nvidia threatened you, we can see you've softened and you are slowly changing your editorial direction. Like, they thought we were genuinely scared of them.
Right.
And so they had managed to manipulate us with those tactics.
Sure.
So you've got to be careful with that, because people will believe that Steve from Gamers Nexus has been compromised and they've got to you and threatened you or whatever. And
I think after the next thing we publish,
you'll squash that?
It is very unlikely Nvidia will ever want to talk to me again.
Okay. Well, you can leave now.
Finally, a big thank you to G-Skill and Trikes for helping to make our Computex trip possible this year. G-Skill offers an amazing range of DDR5 memory with AMD Expo support, allowing you to get the most out of your Ryzen processor, and we've been using their Trident Z5 Neo memory in our test systems for years now, as we rely on it to get the best results. We've also started using Trike's coolers, and I've got to say the Panorama SE 360 Black is one of the best looking AIOs I've ever seen. The quality of the rotatable display is incredible, and as complex as the design appears, it's remarkably quick and easy to install. So for more information, please check the links in the video description.
No, we support Steve's.
Yep. There's no Steve discrimination here.
So I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean, realistically, we can probably talk forever on this, but we could probably leave it there. I think we've been going for a while, and it's been a good discussion, and we've got a few more things to talk about on your channel, I believe.
Do you want to bring it back to VRAM one more time?
Yeah, so 8GB bad, needs 16GB minimum, VRAM. I think we've met our quota there, so that's good. So thanks, Steve, for being here once again.
Thanks,
there
Steve.
We thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video soon.